My name is Sava, and I'm a student here at Microverse. So, Microverse is a software development school that teaches remote software developers, and it's completely free until developers get a job. And we organize lunch and learn events where we bring guest speakers that have some interesting story to share, and students can learn from it. So, Chibuzor, I will let you introduce our today's speaker.
Oh yeah, thank you, Saba. Our guest today is Joshua Oluwagbemiga. I'm very sure I pronounced that correctly. He's from
Yeah.
Lagos, Nigeria. He is a remote designer with InVision. So today he will be sharing his experience with us, the how far he has gone in the journey of getting a remote job from Africa. And I am very sure that we will have a thing or two to learn and then to gain from this lodge and learn. So thanks for joining us, Joshua. It's nice having you here with us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here also. And I think there's some noise coming from your mic. So.
Oh yeah, I need to mute my screen. My neighbors are wow.
Yeah, it's better now. All right, cool. So I think I can get started right away. My name is Joshua Oluwagbemiga, and I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. And I've been working at InVision for about 2 months now. So pretty cool journey. And I'm here today to talk about my journey so far and how I landed like the gig at InVision. Okay, so before we get started, if you have any like question, you can drop it in the like Q&A section. And at the end we can like go over everything. Cool. So little background story about myself. I was born in Osun State, Nigeria. And I've lived in Lagos, Nigeria for about 20 years now. Lagos State is the biggest city in Africa and also the most populated, I guess. And I've lived in Lagos all my life. The hustle, the life, the culture and everything. It's been so nice. And how I started as a UI UX designer is kind of like a very funny story, because in school I wanted to be like this 3D generalist. So instead of UI design, I initially wanted to be a 3D graphics designer who work on games and TV series and movies, because I had serious love for like games. I played a lot of games when I was young. And one day I was just wondering, why can't I like make my own games myself? So that's what made me like venture into 3D graphics design. So I got into university in 2014. Yeah, 2014. I got into Bowen University. Bowen University is university in Osun State, Nigeria also. And I studied computer science in Bowen University. And something about schools in Nigeria at that time is they didn't really like teach computer graphics then. Remember I mentioned I wanted to be like a 3D computer graphics guy, and they didn't teach that in most schools here in Nigeria. So computer science was like the closest alternative to anything related to computer graphics. So I jumped on like the computer science degree and I tried to get that. And after the 100 level, what they were teaching in school wasn't really like what I wanted to know or wanted to learn, because they were teaching like programming, and it was not even really like intense programming. teaching QBasic, Java, and stuff like that. But what I wanted to learn was computer design, and most schools in Nigeria at that time didn't really have like an institution where they teach anything computer graphics related. So it was a challenge for me. So then I personally like started on my own, started teaching myself how to make this 3D design model on my own. So during my spare time, I installed some softwares like Maya, 3ds Max, taking like online courses to teach myself how to create these 3D models and stuff. And that's what I was doing for most of my time in school. This didn't only like affect my studies because that was what I wanted to be, a 3D design generalist and not like a computer science person. So yeah, it affected my studies. I graduated with like a second class lower from school. That's like 2.4 ish. But I was a solid like 3D design hobbyist. And when I came out from school, I was like, okay, I'm going to find another institution to like increase my knowledge on the whole 3D design thing and maybe find an agency to work while I develop. But when I came out from school, there were no like agencies, 3D design, 3D designers, and the market scene for 3D designers then was like really, really low. And we didn't have any market for 3D designers here in Nigeria. So that was like a major hit on like my career path and choice. So that's when I moved into graphics design. And there's this agency in Lagos, Nigeria called Amplify Digital. And that was the agency I joined as a graphics. It's a graphic here. So I worked at Amplify Digital for about 6 months, working on like branding stuff, working on flyers, business card advertisements, and it was pretty fun so far. And this was the alternative that I took because I couldn't find any 3D design job to take as an intern or any other like alternative, and that was like branding and marketing, which I did at Amplify for like 6 months. So after the 6 months, like it became like I wouldn't say boring, but I didn't really enjoy like what I was really doing. Then that's what made me to move into UI UX design. So I started self-teaching myself UI UX design in November 2016. Yes, and the transition from being like a UI UX design, from being a 3D design hobbyist to UI is like pretty because 3D design, they're like basic design principles I've learned. Moving to UI UX design made it like a very simple transition for me. So moving into UI UX design, I tried to like find out what I had to do to become a good one, where to showcase stuff, how to showcase my design, and I'm going to like get into that later. So after 6 months at Amplify, a new startup in Nigeria called Intelia reached out to me, and they offered some secondary fees at that time, and I moved Intelia to join UI UX designer. At Intelia, I worked at Intelia for about a year, working on different projects from clients around the world. Because even the agency in Nigeria worked with clients abroad, so we have foreign exposure, like how projects outside Nigeria, outside the continent, and not just taking local projects but international projects to see the standard of what we have to as a local in Nigeria. Yeah, so holding it. Yeah, so I worked at Australia for Yeah, and it was super fun. And after some time, in May this year, InVision reached out to me, and I joined. I joined in August. So that's like a quick timeline on how I started from Amplify Digital to InVision app. So one thing I'm going to like discuss today is how did I like push my work out there, and how did InVision see me? How did I grow this like my personal brand for um job hunters to see, and so on. So if you have any question, just drop it in the Q&A section as I go on. One, exposure. So as a UI UX designer in a country like Nigeria or other where design is not the market for design, and the design scene in Nigeria is still growing, and it's really, really young, and finding like a stable job as a UI UX designer in this part of the world can be hard. And even if you find, it's not really like paid. And we find out that as UI UX designers, we have to jump on like all this freelancing website or freelancer or Upwork, and to like get gigs to make sure we have that paying job. So that's started from. I created a Dribble. Dribble is a community where they showcase stuff, and Dribble is also a great way to show what you can do, and where product managers or um hiring staffs like check, like pick up talents and stuff. Dribble is a good place to like showcase your talents, and that is where I start uploading like most of my work. Also Behance. Behance is where I upload like full projects and case studies. I'm going to be sharing some in the we can look at as I'm going to go on. And I'm going to explain how you can grow your own profile. Okay, so let's start with like the Dribble story. I joined Dribble in November 2016, and Dribble was very competitive then because there were a lot of designers, and like getting your stuff out there for people to see is really like hard and very like long process to grow as a designer and get so many following, and maybe hiring managers can see your work on Dribble. So it takes a really long process to like let your content grow on Dribble for like get more view and traction. So I'm going to explain like how like groomed my Dribble profile and how I like gained traction and views and hire managers to see my stuff. Now the thing about Dribble is, for the way it works is you have to get followers and people to like your stuff, and when they do, the more likes you get, the more you get a chance to like be on the popular page, and the more you get or the more projects you have give more probability you getting higher or getting like a design gig. So first thing is you have to like groom your shots and make them attractive enough for people to see, oh, okay, this guy has something to show, not just putting out your there. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you later how to do some of this. And Behance, for Behance, you have to prepare this full case studies to show like your thought process, how you came about doing design plus your thought process and so on. I'm trying to share my screen here. All right, cool. You guys can see it. So this is my Dribble page, and if you come here and you think I spend like a lot of time preparing each of the shots. The end game is to get it to like this page where light shots in the last like hours are displayed for a short while. So on this page, if you get to somewhere around like I don't know, even 20th or even the 50th shots, more likes, and hiring manager frequently like come to like search designers. Another the search for designers is in the designers page where there is trending and you can search by location. So Dribble is a good way to like showcase stuff. The trick to the whole thing is make sure you prepare like the well, make sure that they are like attractive enough. So once a user sees like or a manager one of the shots and tries to it, you can now go to your full profile and see what you're made of. So Dribble actually pushed my career like in a long term, and till now still like one of my best position. So I think I saw a question about how did I go about SAT university? Okay, someone asks a question like, how did I go without a certificate? So as a designer or developer, I think right now the managers don't really care about your certificates. They really care about portfolio, how you work, and stuff you can push out. And nobody really cares about grades. I know it's important, and some companies care it, but I don't think it's a like benchmark for you as a designer or developer. You just have to improve your craft, and if you're good enough, you like get a gig. So back to the Dribble. Then, okay, Chibuzo is raising his hand. You can speak, Chibuzo. Huh. Is Chibuzo there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
The question I have really, I would have preferred to. Okay, I would have preferred to write it on the Q&A, but I think this is what majority of uh, um, developers or aspiring developers in Africa are going through. Um, the issue of power and internet, and I would hate to imagine what you've gone through in a month, or maybe on power or on your internet. But I'd like to know is uh, what would you advise maybe aspiring developers that don't have much alternative income to do so that they don't lose focus when they are having challenges uh, getting to getting opportunities actually. I hope you understand what I'm
That's
trying to say.
nice. Yes, yes. I know some places in Nigeria, especially, have this like power problem, and generally in Nigeria we have like this. We have also like poor internet connection, which is like a major like blockage, and becomes like for designers and developers to get over. So I think one thing I did was I had like ration whole thing. Also, I used most of my savings to like spend extra on data. I was in school when I was doing most of my learning at Bowen University, so we had like lights most of the time in school, so that was not really a problem for me. But the internet they had one, and thank God it's getting cheaper over time. But then it was really, but now I think you just like ration thing. If you're starting out as a developer, you want to spend more on like getting more lights, and it's going to affect, obviously it's going to affect how you live. And then I was spending money, the money I was supposed to spend on food, I was spending on getting data and internet at that time. But I think it's just a phase. And once you get it's just a phase, and once you go through all of this, to be easier for you, maybe when you get a job, to like buy um fuel, like stable electricity, or move to Lagos where there is more lights and stuff. But I understand your question, Chibuzo. Here in Nigeria is really hard to like work with the unstable electricity, the bad internet, but we just have to like live through it. One thing I did when I started was like download my tutorial. So when I'm sleeping, it's like I leave them to download. And when I wake up in the morning, I will just like continue from where I stop. So another question. Josh, can you explain a little bit more on how you started on freelancing aspects? What did you do to get your as a beginner, especially coming from Africa? Which freelance platforms would you advise for a start? Good question. Good question. So, how did I land my first project? Huh. I can tell you that I did like really things, but I'm going to like, explain two ways or two good ways to like get gigs and maintain them. One is the popular one, which is like jump on all this freelance site, which like, work Fiverr, um, freelancer. But from just one, I think the ones and I was like Upwork, and it's going to take time to like get gigs on Upwork because the place is it's really competitive, and so like get a gig as a beginner or as a starter is really, really hard. But I think the second most efficient way to like get gigs and projects as a beginner is word of mouth, friends, or from your from your friends, your family, or from your neighbors. So you can just go to your friend and be like, "Hey, I know how to do this. Do you have anybody that needs this service?" It worked for me a couple of times. Most of it was my church members. So after service, I was going to like walk up to some of them and be like, "Do you need a flyer for your program? Do you need a flyer for your business?" And one out of five of them like gave me the chance to do it, and it also gave me chance to like practice my stuff, even though I knew I was not doing sometimes I was not good enough, but it gave me the chance to like start out and experience working in the field. And I think that's a good way to like get freelance gig. And the good thing about word of mouth is if you do a good job for someone, he's obviously going to tell his friends about what you've done. And when I asked him who like did this for you, now oh they did it for me. And they will like you're getting from that client house, and job for the friend, knows his other friends, maybe to like network, and job maybe become so much, and I mean, it even has like jumping on this online gigs like freelancer or Upwork. So that's your question, David. Things. So I was going to mark that as I said. So another question is winning resources. I use there are thousands of resources online. There's some on YouTube, there's some on Linda. So advice you start from like YouTube. YouTube is free. You get a lot of like free resources on YouTube. And when you have like if you have the cash and the money, you can jump on like Fiverr and yes, sorry, on Linda and Plural sites. I watch a lot of tutorials from Plural sites. Personally prefer Plural sites to Linda, but you can also check Linda out. There's also Tute Plus, Skillshare, and there are many other resources, and they are all good. You can check the reviews on them, and merging like knowledge from all these resources gives like a broader understanding of what you need to know. What is your advice for self-taught developers regarding learning? So it's a good way to like approach learning something. So one thing I when I started out as a developer, a designer, is learning the principles of what entails. For everything in this life, like you want to learn, there are underlying principles you have to follow. For example, in design, there are principles like color, typography, layouts, and grid. And learning all these principles one by one, bringing all these principles together into one creative space, then gives you the sense of how the whole of design development. So first, learn principles of what design entails. So you learn the principle of color, learn the principle of typography, learn the principle of grades and stuff, and all these principles in development to be like algorithms, principles of algorithms, tax. If you have like a broad understanding of all this, to be easy to like jump from one aspect of design to another, or one aspect of development, like new code or language, to another easily as a person. So that's how you learn as a developer. So another, and you mentioned video games that inspired you. Which video games influenced that decision the most? I play a lot of games, but I'm going to, I think the one to choose. I think between fighters and virtual combat. 3 games. So there's virtual co-op, there's freedom fighters, there is Mortal Kombat. 3 games. So do you ever get to a point where you don't feel like continuing and you don't push through it? Yes. So that's good. That's a good question. So there are other points I've gotten to as a person in my career that I'll be like, why did I even start this in the first place? And one part where it hits most was when I got out from school, and after 4 years of to be a 3D designer and all the 3D models on my own. And I came from school to get that for that in Nigeria. Studio to working with all the 3D knowledge, and it was hard to like continue, and was like, what am I going to now with all this knowledge? Am I just going to like sit at home? Because I didn't really pay much attention to my studies, and I spent so much time learning how to create 3D models and mini movies. So at that point, I had to like rethink what I was doing and realign like my goals to where I want to be. That's why I immediately like jumped into branding and marketing, which was like the closest alternative because I already had the understanding of graphics design. It's like a principle you had to learn before jumping into like 3D models. So that was like a quick alternative for me. And I jumped into like and working on as and all of that. And after that, that's when I jumped to UI UX design. And who knows, I may go back to 3D design someday because that's like my goal as a person. So yeah, it's okay to fail. It's okay to feel bad or unaccomplished. It just gives you like rethink goal. It's what you want to do. And if it is what you want to do, you have to like push through it and increase motivation and just believe that you can do it. And from there, everything's just going to like kick and line up together. Another question: what challenges did you face? Yeah, how will you work them? I think I've answered them already. That's already. Yeah, I think so. All the questions for now. If you have any questions, you can just drop it in the Q&A. I'm going to be like I'll drop some links to some resources you guys can like check out on the way. So one thing I want to talk about that came up during this is like how do you price clients as freelancer or working remotely as a freelancer from Nigeria. So the answer to that is like on your self-worth. So if you know you're just starting out, and I remember starting out, I like two to like $5 per flyer design, and that was like Fiverr, and I'll just get the gig for like the flyer for $5, and then I was like satisfied with $5 I was getting. But over as you get better, your self value begins to increase, and you don't have to like charge that five. And as you begin to increase that self value yourself and continue to improve your craft, your self worth increases. It gives you a chance like increase what you charge because you have that portfolio, you have that, and nothing is stopping you from like charging more for what you're worth. So another question: at what point do you feel you were enough to take on international jobs or opportunities? So that's a good question. So the thing is, you have to like practice. You have to practice, and that's why we have like Dribble and Behance. So I'm talking as a designer. As a developer, you want to check out like portfolios of popular developers in your field, and you have to like benchmark what you've done against what's. So you look at their portfolio and kind of works they have, what they've created, and you can look at their designs and see, oh, is this design better than my own? Do I still have to like improve? And looking at these designers and benchmarking like work against them or like putting two of them together, that gives you that like sense of validation. Like yes, I'm ready to take on this global design scene because I spent a lot of time myself practicing yeah, before I took on a gig or something, or if for a particular project, I had to like practice and understand what I was doing because if you do a job good for a client, the client is going to come back to you for another one But if you do it poorly, the client is going to leave you, and adjusting that roundabout of like going through repeating projects for low level clients, and you can't retain like clients if you're pushing out like bad stuff. So you have to like continue to like practice, improve your, and from the yourself when it's like this and showcase what you have. So on Christian, you code? No, I know I started coding at some point, like lazy, so stressful. There's so many texts and boring for me. Yeah. So though he gets into InVision through Mars. No, he got into InVision. Um, I got into InVision through this design challenge hosted by Antin. So there was this design challenge called the Space Challenge, and designers were to like create a concept app for a challenge created by Dan Petty. And I just dropped the link so you guys can check it out. And surprisingly, I won the challenge. And after that, it's been like upward from then. InVision reached out and got the gig. So Samuel is raising his hand. Yeah, you can ask your question, Samuel. Okay. I think it's just better like type a second. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to like talk about? And sure.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A. We will wait for like 1 or 2 more minutes. And if there are no new questions, then I think we can end this recording.
Yeah, I think we're good for now.
Okay, it seems like we don't have any more questions. Yes. Oh, there is one question that just appeared.
Yes. How many hours?
How many hours of practice did you need every day in order to become UI UX designer?
This is really tricky, but think about I used to spend about 5 hours per day. So I close work like 5 p.m. Just take extra 3 to 5 hours a day to like improve. I like doing this like constantly for and yeah, for about 4 months constantly, 3 to 5 hours per day. So it's important that you're consistent throughout like the journey, and yeah, it's going to like click from there. So just practice day, and it's going to be easy from there on. Yeah, you're welcome. So I think this question, find my way through Microverse developer. Advice is yeah, okay. Advice I'm stuck at challenge. I think you can apply what I've said that to you as a developer. So you don't really have to follow everything I've said. It's still the same principles. You have to like practice as a developer. There's some places you can stuff like there's GitHub. You can upload free or open source projects on GitHub and get like collaborators. You can answer Stack Overflow, upload demo on CodePen, and this you begin to build clouds around your person or your portfolio, and it's going to be like for you from then on. So David says, what other means can you advise to get remote jobs? Like how you got into it. Currently here in Lagos now, to know the best approach. Okay, so this is one real code trick I think can work. There's something, there's this thing I used to do is one thing, if you want to work with remote company, you have to like, first of all, let them know that, yes, I'm here. Number one, easy for like, this is one technique for like companies that create tools and softwares and applications like InVision. For example, InVision creates like Studio, like Freehand, and all the products. Adobe creates Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe XD, and even though Adobe doesn't create like remote jobs, but there's something that I used to do, and I think is one thing you can try yourself. So the first thing is you have to like really good to get that remote gig. It's hard for like junior designers to get remote jobs because there's no real vision and everybody's like distributed. So you have to really know what you're doing. That's your project might trust you and that's go on. So that's the first thing. You have to really, and another thing you can do is, for example, you can follow this these companies on social media. So you follow these companies like Adobe on Twitter, follow InVision on Twitter, then start posting your work done with your tools. For example, when XD came out, I jumped like just alpha with and stuff BXD. I'm like, yeah, this will be XD, and created like a BXD has, and like I got like interaction badge for that project. So I repeated it for like 2 other projects and I got 6 badges on Behance. And as a designer, you know how big badges are on Behance. For you to get like a interaction badge or Photoshop badge or something else. So because I was using the Adobe XD software, I was getting this XD badge. It didn't only like promote what the software can do, but it's also like promoting me as a designer in this design creative scene. So as Adobe is featuring your work, you're getting more clouds as a designer, and that's giving you more chance to like get this higher project. So you have direct like traffic to you, Twitter advice like you get Twitter, you can like interact with brands like directly in this very open and transparent space. You upload your stuff on Behance, you mentioned them, Twitter projects, 2 projects, 3 projects if you have the time. And time you see, once you see like this guy pop up like 3 times, you know the tools over and over again, even though the tool is new and they'll like obviously like say a huge thank you, or even extend it to reaching out to you. So the same thing with other companies like InVision Studio came out. I did a few like side projects with InVision Studio, dropped a few projects on Dribble. InVision then reached out to me to create like an official InVision on the YouTube channel, which didn't only like promote what InVision Studio can do, but also promoting what I can do as a designer myself. So associating yourself with companies, like there are many of them there. There's InVision, depending on where you want to work. If it's code, it can be like CodePen. So like CodePen, you can upload stuff on code, you become this ambassador-ish. And as the more you become close to the company, and easier it is for, like, even reach out to them and be like, hey, can I work with you guys? Because you've already developed this level of like relationship with the company, and it's going to be easy to like land a job with them. So it's not like a short plan, but for like we are in Lagos, Nigeria, where it's really extremely hard to like find remote gigs and stuff, I think is one effective method. So associating yourself with the company or the brand that gives you increased chances to like land a gig with them. It could just be a Twitter deal that like starts the whole thing, and it's going to be like easy for you. Cool. So any other question? Okay. Yeah, I think we're good now.
Okay, I think there are no more questions. All right, then in that case, thank you so much, Joshua, for joining with us today and answering questions. It was a pleasure having you, and yeah, I think we're safe to end the recording now.
All
So
right.
yeah, thank you,
It's me,
Joshua, for joining us
guys.
today. It's been a pleasure having you here.
All right, cool.
See you.
Talking
Have a
to you
great
guys
day.
also.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye, everyone.